Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2470, 6 The Soft Persimmon 1. After hearing Xuanwu's words, both Zhu Ke and Tu Yunlai felt very solemn. They knew very well that Jiang E was able to lead the entire Huaxu kingdom to defeat the Wulwan Empire by concentrating the nation's resources to power up that human host. However, such methods require a lot of time to prepare in advance and cannot be used hastily. Secondly, was it worth it for Jiang E to pay such a high price to save the three of them? After weighing the options in their minds, the three of them couldn't help but smile wryly. They really don't have that value. Hey, what are you waiting for? Lu Xiao said impatiently. Hurry up and call for reinforcements. I'm giving you 20 minutes. If that strongest human doesn't come, I'll kill you all. The three, Zhu Ke and Xuanwu, were filled with bitterness, but they were determined not to ask Jiang E for help easily. We must preserve this last hope for the Huaxu kingdom. As for aid from other regions, well, that's not even worth considering. The distance is too far. The fastest person to arrive will take at least half an hour. No one but Jiang E could save them. Tisk tisk. Fire Ghost chewed on a pebble, his voice laced with laughter. That woman was quite pretty, just too weak. Su Tun's eyes gleamed strangely as he teased. You like this kind of thing? No way, that's an alien race. Fire Demon shrugged. I meant her abilities, they're beautiful. Her potential should be very high, but unfortunately, the 6 generations of history are too short, and the research on psychic abilities is too shallow, so she hasn't been able to unleash her true power. Su Tun yawned lightly, a cold glint in his eyes. The 6th generation of humans has degenerated beyond recognition. It seems that Lu Xiao alone is enough. Their voices were not loud, but they clearly reached the ears of Suzaku and the others. Xuanwu's ice armor had melted most of its way, Tu Yunlai was breathing heavily, and Juchua's blue flames were flickering in the raging fire. The tide of battle had turned completely against them. They can't hold on any longer. In the command center of Donghai City, Li Guangxiao slammed his hand on the table, his eyes filled with anger. Zhu Zheng, where is your Zhu Yu? Send her to battle. If she doesn't go, Xuanwu and the others will all die there. On the other end of the communication line, the lights in Blizzard City were dim. Zhu Zheng sat in a large black leather chair, his brow furrowed and his fingers gripping the edge of the table. Lan Xinqing whispered a reminder. Commander, Xuanwu's injuries are serious. If this continues, they might. Zhu Zheng did not answer. With his eyes closed, Zhu Yu's cold and beautiful face appeared in his mind. That was his trump card, his last trump card. If she made a move and anything went wrong, he, as the supreme commander of the Jiangnan region, would have nothing left to rely on. Because his authority was already weak in the Jiangnan region, Jiang Yi's presence suppressed him for a full 5 years. Without Zhu Yu's protection, he might have been overthrown long ago. He said in a deep voice, Wait a little longer. Li Guangxiao's furious roar came through the communicator. Wait? If you wait any longer, there will be no one left. Zhu Zheng's brow twitched, and he finally let out a breath. I'll try contacting Chaos. Li Guangxiao paused for a moment, then took a deep breath and said, You should have done this a long time ago. In truth, everyone knew that when faced with an attack from a foreign race, the only person they could rely on was Jiang E. Even after 5 years of development, having seized the resources of the entire Wulwan Empire and obtained the Moon People's meditation method from Jiang E, the Huaxu kingdom suddenly saw a surge of powerful individuals. Even bishop-level superhumans have appeared in several places. However, nowadays, those with superpowers around 30,000 points are no longer able to change the overall situation of the battle. Zhu Zheng frowned deeply, but in the end, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and dial Jiang Yi's number. Tianhai City, top floor of the fortress. Jiang E sat with his arms crossed at the highest point, looking down at the night below. A huge, cold, and silent city defense sniper rifle stood beside him. The most powerful weapon Liu Karen has created so far, if combined with Jiang Yi's abilities, can lock onto a target 200 kilometers away and carry out an extremely powerful sniping attack. Even a night-level superhuman would be extremely wary of it. Jiang E is here, waiting for any enemy who dares to invade. The city was quiet and orderly, with the lights of the defense towers flashing. "Grandpa, your grandson is calling you." The communication device beeped, and Jiang E raised an eyebrow. "Zhu Zheng." A playful smile appeared on his lips. He was well aware of the trouble at the border of the two regions. After all, in the entire Huashu kingdom, if there was any sign of panic, no one would dare to keep quiet about any movement. They desperately want the whole country to know about it, so they can get help from others. Jiang E calmly commanded the intelligence system to connect to the communication. On the screen, Zhu Zheng's face was filled with anxiety. "Brother Jiang E, we can't hold on any longer. The city of Anma, where the East Sea and Jiangnan meet, is under massive invasion by alien races. They can control magma and have set fire to large swathes of territory, causing countless civilian deaths and injuries." Xuanwu, Zhuke, and Tu Yunlai went to meet the enemy, and they were all seriously injured. "Now I have no choice but to swallow my pride and beg you to come out of seclusion." Upon hearing this, Jiang E asked calmly, "Where is Zhu Yu?" Zhu Zheng had already prepared his excuse. He glanced at Zhu Yu beside him, sighed, and said, "Anma City is very close to Blizzard City. Zhu Yu needs to protect Blizzard City, so—" Jiang E interrupted him, saying, "Is it to protect you?" Zhu Zheng, "No." "All right, we're so familiar with each other, there's no need to waste time. Turn the camera around so I can take a look." He needs to assess the other party's level of civilization before deciding whether to take action. He had no interest in helping Zhu Zheng. However, he was still very interested in taking the opportunity to plunder some of the resources of other civilizations. Since the other side started the conflict, a peaceful resolution is impossible. If he confirms the other side is weaker than him, then sorry, Jiang Yi will have to show his true colors. Zhu Zheng quickly forwarded all the footage to Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi called over Yang Xinxin and played the scene at 8 times the speed. His brows furrowed immediately. Even Xuanwu, Zhuke, and Tu Yunlai took this long to defeat? How come this magma man is so weak? Yang Xinxin glanced at him indifferently. "Want to go help?" Jiang Yi squinted and looked towards the sky. On the first day after the seal was broken, there were still a few reckless individuals who didn't know their own mortality. "It only takes me less than a minute to get there and back, so it's fine to go and have some fun." After all, he grinned, revealing his cold teeth. Many people think the 6 generations are pushovers, easy targets. I also need to find a force that doesn't know its own limitations to establish my authority and let them know that I, Jiang Yi, and our Tianhai are not to be trifled with. Chapter 2477, The Soft Persimmon, 2. After confirming that Lu Xiao was just a piece of trash with an ability index of over 30,000, Jiang Yi decided to go and take a look. He dialed Zhu Zheng's number again, and Zhu Zheng was also waiting anxiously. After the call connected, he hurriedly asked, "Brother Jiang Yi, I'm begging you, please come. We need you. If you don't go, Xuanwu and the others will all be killed in battle." Jiang Yi's expression was calm, and his voice was deep. "I need to protect Tianhai. If I leave, who will suppress the ancient disturbances here?" Usually, at times like these, it's time to negotiate terms. Zhu Zheng almost shouted. "Tianhai is safe for now. You've already intimidated the alien races over there. But if Anma City falls, the entire southern front will collapse. Please, Jiang E, you're the only one who can stand up to them. As long as you're willing to help, just ask for anything you need from our 2 regions." Jiang Yi's gaze shifted to the holographic projection broadcasting live to the side. In the scene, Lu Xiao's figure stands proudly in the sea of fire. Xuanwu's huge body lies on the ground with its thick armor broken in many places. Zhuke is almost unconscious, and Tu Yunlai is spitting out blood. Opposite them, the aura of the Zhu Rong clan member was as strong as the ocean tide, and the scorching red waves almost covered the entire scene. A mere white bishop-level Zhurong clan. Jiang E yawned. They barely qualify me to make the trip. He turned around and looked out the window. The night sky was illuminated by a distant red light. Tianhai is safe for now, he said softly. Remember this, you owe me a huge favor. In his eyes, the two districts were as poor as beggars, and he really didn't need anything from them. Let's owe it to you for now, and ask again when we need it later. Zhu Sheng readily agreed. As for Li Guangxiao, as long as you help him rescue two top combatants, he will kneel down and call you his father. So the two of them readily agreed. Jiang E ended the communication and stood up from the huge spherical dome of the Sky Sea Fortress. He stretched and said to Yang Xinxin, I'm going over there first. Let me know immediately if anything goes wrong. I'll be back within a minute. He can travel through space, and the distance he can release dimensional gates has reached 50,000 meters, so a distance of several hundred kilometers is not considered far. The sky, blazing with flames, resembled a torn gate to hell. Xuanwu, Zhu Ke, and Tu Yunlai were already barely breathing, their blood mixed with scorched earth, their figures swaying precariously in the sea of fire. The vermilion bird's blue flames had long since dimmed. The black tortoise's ice armor was shattered into pieces, and Tu Yunlai was charred all over, kneeling on the ground with his fists still clenched tightly. Lu Xiao strode forward, the lava beneath his feet churning with each step, his laughter echoing through the flames. This is 6 generations? His voice was cold and arrogant, carrying an innate sense of superiority. Struggling like ants, can insects illuminated by firelight even dare to contend with the sun? He raised his right hand, the scorching flames gathering in his palm reflecting the sky and earth, and whispered, Since the strongest one you speak of refuses to show himself, then I will fight my way through and ensure that this land has no more 6 generations left. Xuanwu gritted his teeth, his voice hoarse. You don't even think about it. Suzaku's eyes gleamed with tears of resentment. If this doesn't work, we'll all be wiped out. With his last ounce of strength, Tu Yunlai roared and lunged at Lu Xiao, only to be slapped away by a casual palm strike and crashed heavily into the lava. Lu Xiao looked up, the firelight reflecting in his golden-red pupils, as if he had seen through the insignificance of the entire world. He slowly raised his hand, and the flames in his palm transformed into countless molten light snakes that lunged at the 3 of them. Go to hell, you lowly land creature. On the distant tower, Void Devourer and Fire Demon still watched indifferently. Fire Ghost, a piece of charred stone dangling from his lips, gave a mocking smile. Lu Xiao is about to start clearing the area. Su Tun nodded indifferently. Very good. Let these inferior 6th-generation people understand that their era should have ended long ago. At that very moment, a gust of wind swept by. The direction of the flames suddenly changed. The temperature between heaven and earth suddenly dropped for a moment. There was no thunder, no energy fluctuations, no unusual phenomena, just an extreme stillness. Lu Xiao frowned slightly, a flutter in his heart. He sensed that something he had never been aware of before appeared in this space. The wind blew slowly from the distant ruins, and a figure treaded on ashes and embers, passing through flames with steady steps. It was a young man dressed in black, whose steps were so light that they made no sound, and even the flames parted at his feet. 1 minute ago he was in Tianhai City, and 1 minute later he arrived at the battlefield of the Zhurong tribe. That's how he appeared. The dimensional gate opened, and all things in nature formed an absolutely flawless defense around him, so that none of the surrounding high temperatures could penetrate. There were no flashes of light or surging air. He seemed to appear out of thin air, calm and collected, yet shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere that made it hard to breathe. Once the superpower index reaches a certain level, the 6th sense will become extremely sharp as the organism evolves. Especially when facing a stronger opponent, the instinct to anticipate danger becomes stronger. Therefore, Even though Jiang E didn't use any abilities, his mere appearance from the void was enough to make Lu Xiao, who was just laughing wildly, feel the flames flowing on his skin cool down. Jiang E didn't even glance at Lu Xiao. He simply looked up at the battlefield in front of him, his gaze sweeping over the sky stained red by flames and the corpses on the scorched earth before finally settling on Lu Xiao. That one glance was like a god from beyond the heavens looking down upon the mortal world. Is it the same race as that golden-armored swordsman? That's quite interesting. Lu Xiao's laughter faltered slightly, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Could it be that you are the strongest of the 6th generation of humans that they are talking about? Jiang E didn't answer, but just glanced at him very indifferently. Then, his right index finger twitched almost imperceptibly. There were no energy fluctuations or unusual phenomena. The world was silent. Lu Xiao wanted to continue his sarcasm, and a slight smile just appeared on his lips. But at that moment, his body suddenly stiffened. Click. A very faint sound. The flesh was cut along with the air, and the flesh, which could withstand the extreme heat of the magma, was comparable to gold and iron. The sound of it being cut was very crisp. Before his smile had faded, his body, like glass, began to crack silently, with fine lines appearing from his shoulders to his waist, and from his waist to his legs. Vertical lines and horizontal lines, arranged in a staggered and even pattern, create a series of distinctive squares on his body. That's a spatial division, or more precisely, a more advanced form of detachment. Silent, invisible, without even an attack trajectory or initiation action. The moment Jiang Yi's thought formed, his attack had already landed on his target. Lu Xiao lowered his head, fear appearing in his eyes for the first time. He tried to speak, but then he noticed a sharp, angular piece of his skull falling off, chin, nose, eyes. He saw his hand slowly falling through the air, the flames still flickering at his fingertips. He saw his body disintegrate into regular fragments, silently sliding down into the air. The entire process was eerily quiet. There was no explosion, no screams. Only the sound of the wind swept through the ashes. Dimensional string theory. It has the ability to extract and uniformly separate all things within a 3,000-meter radius into a spatial system. Chapter 2478, The Soft Persimmon 3. The flames died down, and the world returned to silence. Lu Xiao's still smiling face lingered in the warmth of the air, but his body had long since turned into countless tiny pieces of flesh, burning and slowly dissipating. The smile vanished with the fading light, as if it had never existed. He didn't even realize he was dead. Everything froze for a few seconds. The silence between heaven and earth was shattered by horrified gasps the next moment. The Void Devourer and the Fire Demon on the tower stood frozen in place. Fire Demon's pupils contracted to pinpoints, his voice hoarse. This is impossible. Lu Xiao is dead. He's actually dead. How? How did he die? What did that guy do? Su Tun stared intently at Jiang E, his expression turning serious for the first time, cold sweat trickling down his temples. Lu Xiao, a white bishop level, was actually wiped out in one hit? What exactly was this guy? Note: don't ask why they also refer to him as White Bishop. It's just a translation. He whispered hoarsely. Not human. He's definitely not human. Because Jiang E and the guys they just met, such as Zhuke, Xuanwu, and Tu Yunlai, didn't seem to be the same type of creature at all. If so, why is the gap in strength so large? The fire demon's fingertips trembled slightly, and his flames instinctively receded, like a wild beast automatically groveling before a powerful being. It wasn't even something he did intentionally. Rather, his physical instincts outweighed his mental thinking. Xuanwu, Zhuke, and Tu Yunlai remained in their fighting stances, but were unable to move. Their bodies jolted almost simultaneously, and then an expression of disbelief froze on their faces. Suzuka's icy blue eyes trembled slightly as she looked at Jiang E, her voice almost trembling. Is he really still human? She knew Jiang E was very strong, extremely strong. However, she felt that she had already imagined Jiang E's abilities as much as possible. But it wasn't until she witnessed Jiang E's actions that she truly understood how lacking her imagination was. The difference between a superpower index of 26,000 and 52,000 is not just double, but an unbridgeable rift between the heavens and the abyss. Tu Yunlai swallowed hard, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. His internal organs were ruptured. He was nearly dead. His once bold face was now filled with awe and shame. I can't even catch a glimpse of the moment he makes a move. We're not even on the same level as him. Xuanwu took a deep breath, and the icy aura turned into white mist that spewed out from his mouth and nose. We thought we were the guardians of the Huashu kingdom, but in front of him, we are not even a spark. The three were filled with shock and shame. The enemy they couldn't defeat even with all their might couldn't withstand Jiang E's attacks for even a single breath. That gap was like the chasm between humans and gods. Inside the East China Sea Regional Command Center, Li Guangxiao pressed his entire face against the screen, his pupils dilated with shock. A few seconds later, he exhaled heavily, his atoms apple-bobbing. Good heavens, this is a real monster. He grinned and laughed out loud, his tone filled with undisguised excitement and pride. This kid is completely beyond our reach. He has already reached another dimension. He turned his adjutant. Write this down. From now on, the combat strength level of the Huashu Kingdom will need to be redefined. Meanwhile, in Blizzard City, Zhu Zheng practically jumped up from his chair, scattering documents all over the floor. He killed that alien powerhouse in an instant. His voice was filled with shock and disbelief. This is impossible. Even Hutu might not be able to do this, right? Looking at Jiang E's calm and indifferent profile, he suddenly felt that she looked somewhat familiar. It seems that he had the same feeling when he first saw Bai Longzi's appearance 2 years ago. Such power, such transcendence. Lan Xinqing's eyes widened, and he stammered. This has already exceeded the scope of extraordinary beings. His power, it's practically like that of a god. Zhu Zheng's chest heaved, his breathing became rapid, and his expression was extremely complicated. He is no longer human, he murmured. He has surpassed all limits. Behind them, Zhu stood quietly, her face calm. But those dark eyes trembled slightly, and a monstrous storm had already been brewing in his heart. She stared at Jiang E on the screen, her gaze incredibly complex, a mixture of amazement, admiration, and a hint of inexplicable excitement. On the battlefield, the flames were completely extinguished. The wind blew again, stirring up the ashes scattered all over the ground. Jiang Yi's figure still stood upright on that scorched earth, his expression indifferent, as if he had just done something utterly ordinary. With a slight twitch of his fingertips, a ball of dark golden energy slowly gathered and was drawn into his palm. That was Lu Xiao's source of power, pure, intense, and containing the fiery power to burn everything. Jiang E casually sealed it into another dimension, his expression as calm as if he were picking up a pebble. Xuanwu struggled to his feet, his massive, mountain-like body covered in scorch marks. He looked down at him with sincere admiration, his voice hoarse. Lord Chaos, what was that attack just now? Jiang E turned his head, his eyes indifferent, a half-smile playing on his lips. It's just a little trick. I call it dimensional string decomposition. Suzaka slightly widened his eyes and murmured repeatedly, Dimension, string resolution. Tu Yunlai gave a bitter smile and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. That's truly an awe-inspiring name. Jiang E didn't explain further, but simply looked around, his tone as casual as if he were asking about the weather. I've heard there are very powerful alien races here. He glanced around, his gaze landing on the distant ruins, the direction where Void Devourer and Fire Demon were, but quickly looked away. Those two guys didn't seem particularly strong. Where is it? He asked curiously. Silence. The air was deathly silent. The three Xuanwu looked at each other, their expressions extremely complicated. Zhu couldn't help but bite her lip and cough softly. It's the one you just took care of. Jiang E remained silent for a long time, and the three of them followed suit. After a long silence, Jiang E sighed and said, "You guys should practice hard from now on." The three men were filled with shame. Despite their serious injuries, their faces remained flushed. Jiang Yi's gaze shifted indifferently to the distance. Those guys have been pretending to be experts. They seem to have some skill. In the distance, the Void Devourer and the Fire Demon on the tower remained frozen in place. Fire Demon swallowed hard and said in a low, hoarse voice, "He's watching us." Su Tun's eyes were cold, and the flames on his body had long since been extinguished, leaving only the fear burning in his heart. Jiang E didn't even bother to look at it a second time, and simply lifted her foot and walked forward. The wind was silent beneath his feet, and ashes swirled with his steps, bringing with them an eerie and chilling atmosphere. The only sound in the world was his footsteps. Calm and clear, yet like a war drum, it resonates in the heart of every living being. At that moment, whether it was Void Devourer, Fire Demon, or Black Tortoise, Vermilion Bird, and Slaughtering Clouds, the same thought arose in their hearts. He is not a warrior, nor did he come here to fight. They're not even in the same league, so how could they possibly fight? He is the judge.